Hi, I'm Eric. My name's not actually Eric. Today, I will be making a tier list of all the programming languages I can remember working with. This list is subjective and based entirely on my experience with the language, so you might have a very different opinion than I do. Let's begin. Python. I've seen some people say that Python is not a quote-unquote real programming language, and some of the legal statements you can write look like war crimes. But you can write an unholy statement in any language, and nobody actually writes Python code like that. Anyway, I love Python, and it's my favorite language and my go-to when I want to program anything that doesn't explicitly require a different language. I love how you can do almost anything in it, and it's very easy to write and work with. I'll put Python at the top in S tier. C++. This is my favorite statically typed language. I learned C++ for 2 years, about 2 years ago now, and I haven't really done much with it recently, though I've been wanting to get back into it. It's a pretty solid language, and I had fun working with it. However, since I haven't used it in a while, I won't put it in S tier, so A tier it is. Java. I am a certified Java hater, but while I'll never go out of my way to write in Java, I don't think it's a bad language by any means. I mean, I kinda do. It's just unique in its approach. That being said, I didn't have the best time in Java, but compared to some of these other languages, I'd say Java is pretty good. I'm going to show this example Java program because it'll also be relevant for the next two languages. This is the Java program. Basically, it just arranges a list of diners based on their favorites. So people with favorites sit next to each other. That's like the idea. Oh, what is this? This is actually a fun program to write. It uses recursion, which you'll see is, well, I'll just say, but it's going to be useful for the Scheme version of this because Scheme has no loops, only recursion, so I barely had to change how it works. Also, what the hell are all these things? As for Java's placement, I'll give it a B tier. Scheme. Scheme is a derivative of Lisp, and Lisp is an acronym for lots of irritating silly parentheses, or something like that. It's not actually, I think it's meant to be Lisp programming, but someone came up with that name, and in my opinion it more accurately describes Lisp anyway. I'm not going to go too much into detail about what Scheme is, instead I'll show you a Scheme version of the Java program I just showed, but this is the Scheme language, the one program that is a clone of the Java program. And yeah, it looks kind of cool. Thank God for these comments, because otherwise you would have no idea what the hell anything going on is or does. Or also, I made this on Repellit. I call it Repellit. They absolutely murdered this site. Like, holy crap. This used to be such a great site, and I used to make Discord bots just showed. But yeah, it looks pretty damn cool, but it's confusing as hell to write. I didn't find Scheme that bad, honestly, but it's definitely not as good as Java. Therefore, I will give it C tier. Prolog. Prolog is not your typical programming language. It's a logical programming language. You define rules and make queries. I don't like it at all. Here's that Scheme and Java program in Prolog. I don't have a Prolog IDE, so this is just like the code that I actually did save. The % is a comment. But basically just like define that diner 1 really likes this and really likes this, and then you just look for who's closest. It is a very different algorithm than the other two because you can't really do like the functional, I forget the word that describes what Java and Scheme are. Scheme is functional, I don't know what Java is, but this is scuffed and I don't really like it that much. These programs were all written for the same class. Since I didn't work with it too much, and it wasn't that hard, just not my style, I think I'll put it C tier as well. Haskell. This is the first time I've ever used AI to help me write a program, and the AI wasn't much help, considering it kept going in circles. I hated Haskell, but thankfully I only had to write one program in it. Here's the Haskell program I made. This comment is auto-filled. It just kept typing that, and yeah, this language is kind of ass. It was so much work just even getting like the random library installed because we needed that, because this game is a gambling simulation. Very, very good, yes. Look at this, it's horrible. I'm sure Haskell has its uses, and I don't think I use it enough to call it F tier, so I'll put it in D tier. I have no love for this language. ASM, or as I like to call it, times 86 assembly. You just don't write an assembly. The C compiler will do it much better than you ever will. I didn't find ASM that bad, but I didn't really write anything complex in it. C tier. C, programming language to rule them all. My experience with C is that C kinda sucks. It's super annoying, you need to be very explicit. Memory leaks are impossible to avoid. Oh, is that a seg fault? Frick you. My experience with C would probably be much better if I wasn't exclusively working in terminal IDEs like Emacs and Vim, and yes, I did have to Google how to exit Vim. C is extremely powerful though when you know what you're doing, so I'll put it in D tier. HTML5. I didn't really write anything in this language, just copy-pasted code my professor gave me, so I think it's fine. I'm sure it gets worse, but C tier. I don't appreciate you getting in the way, you punk. I don't even know what this is. Is this Bash? Maybe this is Bash. Whatever. I've worked in Bash, but I don't know which one it is, so whatever. JavaScript. I used a lot of JavaScript this past semester. Words cannot describe how much I love JavaScript, but thankfully, actions speak louder than words. And that's my programming language tier list. Apparently I scrolled down at some point, didn't notice that. And this is all the languages I remember using. There's not too many. I'm sure you disagree with me on some accounts, but that's alright. Remember, this is just my experience with the language, and some of these I had a really rough time with, and others I really enjoyed. And with that, I'll say thank you for watching, and maybe I'll see you in another video. Goodbye.